The OPPO Find X8 Ultra is finally here, and it's the most kitted-out flagship they've ever made. Its box still packs in everything. The camera system is improved. It has a larger battery, a new display and a new chipset. I don't know the exact price at the time of making this video, but last year it started at 59.99 Chinese yuan, which is around $800, so I'd expect it to be a little more than that. So just like last year's OPPO Ultra device, this phone will also not get a global release. And that got me thinking, why take reviews such as myself getting sent phones that our viewership can't actually buy? And then I realized it's not about driving sales OPPO, just trying to flex the device. Yes, you could import one, but they want to show the world how great their top-end phone is. And it is really good. The OPPO Find X5 series released internationally, and in the X6 and 7 series stayed in China. The Find a Pro finally put OPPO back in the Western markets, but the Ultra device is not getting the same treatment. I guess if you're an OPPO fan and want the absolute best, then you might seriously consider importing one. The main reason anyone would want to import one of these is because of its main selling point, its cameras. So I think that's a pretty good place to start. Its main camera is still a 50-megapixel Sony Ultra 900, which is a 1-inch sensor, but it now has upgraded OS, a new custom 8-element lens with an HR eyeglass element to help with chromatic aberration. OPPO's next-gen hypertone image engine, which should improve processing, and is actually a 5th camera this year called the True Chroma camera, which is a 9-channel 2-megapixel sensor which helps achieve more precise auto-white balance that will improve color accuracy and tonal range. This works with all the cameras, by the way, and it really does make a huge difference from what I've seen so far. It has been raining like crazy here in Cape Town, so there was quite a huge layer of mist around the city when I took the snaps, but somehow the Find X8 Ultra still managed to take insanely good photos, and I was very impressed with how well it handled light, noise and reflections at night. OPPO also seems to have stepped up their game when it comes to video performance in terms of detail and stability, and low light video seems to be better too, which gives more sense of realism. So the main camera is exactly the same, but it seems to be producing better results because of everything that's happening in the background. But the two periscope cameras actually have new sensors this year. The first is still a 50-megapixel camera with 3x optical zoom, and it's the same sensor size too, but it uses a new Sony all-white 700 sensor. And this time it's a floating periscope, so you can get much closer to the subject. But we'll get to that in a bit. It also has a new prism system and a new 6-element lens with super blue glass to help with infrared light glare and ghosting. But more importantly, it has a lower aperture at f2.1, making this the perfect camera for portraits, which it does so incredibly well even at night. The new lens structure helps a lot with lighting, with handling, and it keeps things looking crisp even at night. 70mm is also the perfect focal length for shooting videos of subjects, offering fantastic natural depth without the need for a portrait mode. Oh, and by the way, all the cameras can record video at 4K 60 fps, even the selfie camera. There's a bit of noise going when using it to film at night, but it still looks a hell of a lot better than other phones when recording periscope video at night. Then the second periscope camera is still 50 megapixels as well, with 6x optical zoom. It has the same 135mm focal lens, but it uses a newer Sony all-white 600 sensor. Oddly enough, this is actually the same sensor used for the 3x periscopes found in the OPPO Find X3 Pro and OnePlus 13. It's a triple prism periscope design, so it uses less physical space than it offers telescopes even when zooming in from 10x and up, but from 60x, it automatically activates further air models to enhance details. Though at max 120 zoom, it becomes a bit obvious. It has a larger sensor size at 1 and 1.95 inches and faster f3.1 aperture. So naturally it increases its lighting take back quite a bit, and this helps it achieve better image quality in challenging lighting conditions. It sometimes battles a bit when lighter, too bright to handle, but zoom definitely helps maintain detail at further zoom levels. Recording 4K video with it as things come out extremely clear, very stable, while handheld things, 2Ys and color tones are spot on due to that True Chroma camera helping out. But nighttime video isn't exactly its strong suit. And then I realized something a bit strange. The all-white 600 sensor used for its 6x periscope camera is actually the exact same sensor used for last year's S7 Ultra's ultra-wide camera. This year's ultra-wide camera seems like a bit of a downgrade on paper. It's still a 50-megapixel camera, but it relies on an ISOCELL Jane 5 sensor, which uses a smaller sensor size, and its focal length is a tiny bit narrower, but it's actually a newer sensor, and in reality it's actually better suited as an ultra-wide camera. You see, the Jan 5 is actually a versatile camera, while the all-white 600 is intended for telephoto purposes. So as an ultra-wide camera, it suffers from edge distortion. The Jan 5 literally eliminates distortion completely. So while on paper it might seem worse, in reality it's a better overall ultra-wide sensor. Some food for thought here. The OPPO Find X8 Pro and OnePlus 13 use the exact same sensor for the ultra-wide. It can also record 4K 60 space video and it comes out packed with detail. And again, no age distortion. It's also quite stable thanks to superb electronic stabilization. And while it does offer autofocus, it seems to have some focusing issues when recording video at night. OPPO have definitely put a lot of research and optimization into this year's camera system and it does pay off. There's also a few camera features which are worth digging into in a second. Yes, the Hasselblad partnership still stands, so there's still a few different Hasselblad filters, which work well for different use cases. We still have expand mode for that iconic Hasselblad expand camera look. It has a very wide aspect ratio and can be shot in color or black and white. The 3x floating periscope sensor offers stellar macro photography thanks to its 10 cm minimum focusing distance and max macro zoom of 30 times. So gone are the days of getting stupidly close to a subject. Action mode is back and shutter speed has improved. Some moving objects come out crystal clear. We still get slow motion video, but it's still limited to just 10/8240 ISPs. There's also a 720p for mode, but I was told that there's also a 4K 120 slow motion option. I can't seem to find it, so I'm sure it will be added with a future software update. Ultra Steady Video Mode is back and can now be used in 4K 60 apps for any of the rear cameras and 1080p 30 for the selfie camera. It looks very good and is really stable, especially considering how fast I was actually running here. We also get Dolby Vision video, but this time it can be shot at 4K 60 apps across all of the sensors, including the selfie camera. I've also been told there's 4K 120 Dolby video for the main and 3x camera. But again, I expect this to come with an update, though unfortunately, portrait video hasn't received any attention at all as it's still capped at 1080 resolution. And even when you zoom in past 3 times, it still sticks to the main camera. That's not too much of a deal breaker, though, since all of its sensors offer fantastic natural depth of field without the need for a portrait mode. There is also a dedicated camera button known as the Quick button. The X8 Pro has one too, but this time it's the 2nd generation. Third reacts a bit better and it just feels smoother because of the flat edge of the Ultra. It can still only double tap to open the camera, swipe to zoom, tap to take a snap and hold for burst. But now it has a scroll wheel on the screen when zooming. I wonder where they got that idea from. Another very weird thing, which was the same case with the Pro, is that you can swipe to zoom when holding the phone upright. You can only use it to zoom when in landscape. With that in mind, why not lower the Quick button so it's easier to reach when shooting horizontally? It has less features than the one seen on my iPhone, but I've only ever really used it to zoom anyway. And to be completely honest, I actually barely ever use it because it's just so much easier to use the screen in my eyes. It's a bit of a gimmick and it is nice to have, but I just feel like OPPO could have spent that money elsewhere. The included case has a cutout for it too, which is nice, but the case that comes with the 8 Pro is better as it has a bit of a sandstone feel to it. I can't really complain though, because most flagships these days don't even come with a charger, let alone a free cover. There's another button too, which replaces the alert slider we see on other OPPO and OnePlus flagships. Much like Apple's action button Opera, I've included what they call a shortcut button. Unlike iPhone's sound profile option, the Find X8 Ultra lets you switch between vibrate, silence and ring, which is exactly how the alert slider worked. You can set the shortcut button to perform different actions instead of sound profiles, but you can't actually create a custom shortcut. So open an app, for example, which is really strange. I don't necessarily think that Opera are trying to copy Apple here. Well, maybe on paper, yes, but in reality their main aim is to have a world in which Android users and iPhone users can coexist. And the main reason that I say this is because Opera is the only brand that I'm aware of that can share files with iPhone. I mean, they literally have it baked into their software so that you can airdrop to an iPhone. The default mode for the shortcut button is actually Memory Clip, which stores content to bring, which is opposed by assistance in China. But when I clicked on Learn More, the tips page is in Chinese. Of course you can set the UI to English, which I've actually done, but sometimes you get reminded that you're using a Chinese phone, for example, when you pull down on the home screen for global search. The search bar is in Chinese, and when you go to the quick glance screen to the left of the home screen, there's more Chinese here and there. Even some widget text shows Chinese writing. It would have been nice to have had everything in English considering I actually changed the UI to English. It's not really new though, since many other Chinese phones do this too. It just would have been nice for anyone that actually wanted to import one. But it's not really a big deal since everything else on the device pretty much sticks to your chosen language. Other than that, the software is exactly the same as any other flagship OPPO or OnePlus device running colorware. So Oxygen OS on top of Android 15, and it's one of my favorite software skins to use. Google services are built into the phone too, and you can download the Google Play app straight from the OPPO app markets. Google Gemini works too, but of course other Google features like Circle to search aren't available. Hi, I'm Gemini. We're about to go live where you can explore complex topics or ideas just by talking. The crazy thing, and I actually tested it out myself, is that Android Auto and Tap to Pay with Google Wallet work flawlessly, and I was really shocked to find this out. Another thing the X8 Ultra checks every box with is its display. It's a 10-bit 6.82-inch 120Hz output AMOLED screen with 2160pm dimming, 1600 nits of brightness in high brightness mode and 2500 nits of enhanced HDR brightness. Now I actually asked OPPO what the peak brightness is, and they told me that while the phone does go a lot brighter than the notes that I just mentioned, they don't really feel like flexing on numbers. They care more about the user experience, and it actually makes sense because when you consider peak brightness, then you have to remember that peak brightness is literally the brightest point on one portion of the screen at any given time, whereas a beam is the peak brightness of the entire display, and that's what matters most. Now, if you were wondering, I'm assuming the peak brightness is around 4500 nits, as that's the peak brightness of the Find X8 Pro and OnePlus 13. And when you look at the spec sheet to Find X8 Ultra and OnePlus 13 have the exact same displays. It even shares the exact QHD Plus resolution with 510p, which is a lot higher than the Find X8 Pro. The only difference between this and the OnePlus is that the OnePlus has slight curves all around its screen, whereas the Phoenix 8 Ultra is a completely flat display, which I honestly prefer. The bezels wrapping around are also ridiculously thin at just 1.4mm all around the screen symmetrically, which is quite a step up from the X8 Pro and OnePlus 13, just like the OnePlus. We also get an ultrasonic fingerprint sensor this time, so it just takes a tap to unlock. And just like last year's Ultra, the Find X8 Ultra uses the exact same 32-megapixel selfie camera, so it relies on the same I'll watch 5 or 6 sensor as the 7 Ultra, which is quite a bit better than the IMX615 sensor seen in the X8 Pro and OnePlus 13. They have the same sensor size and aperture. Any new Hypotonia image engine definitely makes a difference with low-light shots. Portraits even at night come out great thanks to it offering autofocus, which is something that the Pro and OnePlus lack. But just like with the rear cameras, portrait video has taken a bit of a backseat and is still capped at 10 cents. It's up, guys. This technique recording a 4K 65th selfie video on the brand new OPPO Find X8 Ultra. I am using sound focus right now and there's quite a bit of traffic behind me, so hopefully it isolates my voice nicely for a selfie video. Looks great. Let me know your thoughts on the video quality, as well as of course, the microphone performance soon. And again, just like with most selfie cameras, nighttime video is a bit of a hit and miss. Unlike the Find X8 Pro, the Ultra packs in a Qualcomm chip, and you guessed it, it's the Snapdragon Elite. I've tested the Elite out quite a few times now, and it's the fastest chip around by quite a bit. Expect max frame rates across pretty much any game you throw at it. And of course, benchmark scores speak for themselves. Its 16 gigs of LPDDR5 RAM has jumped up to 9600 megabits per second. Storage is faster too, thanks to up to 1 terabytes of UFS 4.1 ROM, and it's kept cooler with a new custom vapor chamber. But we'll have to see how it keeps up in one of my upcoming comparisons. Last year we got a 5000 mAh battery. This year we get a massive 6100 million power capacity. And that's all thanks to silicon carbon tech, which replaces the graphite seen in lithium ion in order to make it a larger capacity but a smaller physical size. It sticks to the same charging, though at 100-watt wired, SSD, wireless and 10-watt reverse wireless. That silicon carbon battery allows for the latest Ultra to be quite a bit thinner than its predecessor, now coming in at just 8.78 millimeters. That's almost a full millimeter thinner than last year. The metal frames are now completely flat and the design is very clean. It comes in matte, black, pure white and shell pink, but they all have matte finishes. The design is very elegant and the pink isn't like a shocking pink. It's more of a white silver with a splash of pink. If that makes sense though, I'm going to miss the dual-tone dual material finish of the Find X7 Ultra that we saw last year. The back and front glass panels are stronger though, since they have been made from enhanced Gorilla Glass, which has apparently been developed in close collaboration with Corning, though there isn't a specific glass model number that I'm aware of. It's got to be good though, since last year's display was protected by Gorilla Glass Victus 2, and the final upgrade is waterproofing. It still has an IP68 rating, but it now also features IP69, which can withstand jet sprays. And yes, just like the X8 Pro, it also has a dedicated underwater camera feature. I don't actually have anything to complain about when it comes to the OPPO Find X8 Ultra other than being a China-only phone. That said, I wouldn't blame you if you did want to buy one. It is a ridiculously good phone, but OPPO have told me to stay tuned because apparently the tech inside this phone will soon be making its way to other OPPO flagship products which will be released globally in the near future. So it might just be worth the wait. As always, this is Technique and I'll catch you in the next one.